Welcome in, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many of you in tonight. Make sure you share out the stream right away because this is going to be an exciting trip for everybody. Welcome in, Jacob, Samuel B12, Costa Mom, Noah, Lucas. Let's see, who else do we have? Ian, welcome in. Hope you're feeling better, buddy. Christina G. So... well, we're gonna just get right started. I mean, we got a ton of things to go to stop on our trip, but as always, I have to tell my joke at the beginning of every stream. So today's joke is: why did the bear buy a pair of sneakers? To catch up with the salmon run. So we're gonna go ahead, and the first stop we're gonna make is a special for the kids. So if you have kids, you definitely want to have them watching. Go ahead, Costa Mom. Before we begin, tell a mom joke. Let's see what mom joke Costa Mom has. Why didn't the teddy bear want dessert? I know the punchline, but go ahead, Costa Mom, you can say it. Because he was already stuffed, I knew that one. Good one, Costa Mom. Okay, so let's jump right into the VR, and this first one is for the kids, or the kids and all of us. All right, so most of these videos are going to be brought to you by a YouTube site called VR Gorilla. If you haven't checked them out, their link is in the description of this video. If you have a VR headset, definitely check out this channel. So we're going to go ahead, and when I'm playing the videos, I will mute my mic for the enjoyment of the video. So let's go ahead and start with the first one for the kids, shall we?
All buckled in? Good.
Oh, first time on a sleigh. Let's make it extra fun on this trip.
Oh no, Santa, no. Remember, we still have over 20,000 cities to go. Stick to the plan.
Fine. You're in for a ride.
I heard that, Santa.
Don't worry so much, Pepper. Let's see some sights. Giddy up, boys!
North Pole, we have liftoff.
I thought, watch what this button can do. Up the pyramids in the magic hour. Scared the Yule-log out of me. What are you doing here?
Making sure you stay on schedule.
No schedule. Let's have some fun. Tokyo!
Chris Kringle, let me handle this.
I know what I'm doing! Oh!
Well, there goes Christmas.
Look at the earth.
Wow. And we'll never get back. I failed boys and girls all over the world. Christmas is ruined.
No, Pepper. Believe in yourself. You're Santa's little helper. Remember?
I've got you. That's it.
Marvelous, Pepper. Marvelous! Santa has come to town.
Yes, successfully delivered.
Woohoo! We did it!
Come on home. Mexico City.
Wow.
30 seconds.
That's what I call a Christmas miracle. Oh, Pepper, why don't you join me for the next one?
Well, only if you can do a bit of sightseeing along the way.
Of course, Pepper. And you're welcome back anytime. Merry Christmas.
I hope the kids enjoyed that one. We do have a couple more that the kids might like. So, but I really enjoyed that one. I don't know about all of you, but let's continue, shall we? So this one we are going to be watching the Mickey Once Upon a Time parade.
Mickey's Christmas parade. I mean,
If we're lucky, maybe we'll see CeeLo in this parade prancing around. And we have Olaf.
I'm Olaf. Isn't this amazing? I'm in my very own winter wonderland. Hello.
I use the Oculus Quest 2. It's the headset I use. Now, if this Elsa has Samuel B's 12 face on it, I'm running. Oh, the head strap, yes. Jacob, I'll send your father a link to it. I got it off of Amazon. It's a lot more comfortable than the original head strap. Oh, and there's our Clarabelle cow.
That's Clarabelle.
Hello, everyone! No time to waste. We've got to make this a spotless Christmas time.
Oh, we got some princesses now. I'm doing good. Thank you for coming in, Purple Queen. How are you? I use Air Server on my Windows computer, but they also have it for the Mac, Jacob. But it's called Air Server, And then I just use OBS Studios to capture the air server window. If you want, Jacob, I can send your father a link to that too as well. Okay, buddy. That's a pretty tall Woody. I thought Woody was a little toy. Oh, the toy soldiers, I love them. Good night. That was cute. And now Santa. Okay, So those were the two ones I had for the kids. I do have one more Disney one. I'm gonna leave it up to the chat. Do we want to watch the last Disney one I have now, or go start the world tour? What do you guys say in the chat? Disney or world tour? World. Okay, it looks like we're gonna start the world tour there. So our first up is gonna be Marseille. Again, during these videos, I'm gonna try not to talk so we can hear the tour guides, if there's any.
Hello and welcome to the beautiful city of Marseille, the second most populous city in France and the capital of the Bouches-du-Rhône region. Marseille is the most important trading center of this region, but with its historic and cultural landmarks, it has also become a popular hub for leisure and tourism. During this tour, we're going to find out why. We begin in the second district of Marseille. In front of us, you can see the Cathédrale de la Major. The new cathedral was built over an older church about 129 years ago, which makes this the site of the first church and the last cathedral built in France. Many people pass by the Cathédrale de la Major every day, either to visit or simply sit on the magnificent sea view square that surrounds it. Inside the cathedral, you can admire the unique blend of Byzantine and Roman architecture and gaze upon different statues and mosaics. In the main hall, 7 statues represent Jesus, surrounded by 6 of his apostles and disciples, including Mary Magdalene and Lazarus. The cathedral lies in the Le Panier district, known as the Artist District and one of the oldest parts of Marseille. The word panier means basket in French. In the district of Le Panier, almost every wall is covered in extraordinary art, making the whole district feel like an open-air museum. And with its narrow alleys, tiny shops and colorful buildings, you will be transported by the magic of the place. Continuing on, we move to one of the most visited monuments in Marseille, Fort Saint-Jean, which is connected to Le Panier by a footbridge. This place is a testament to the military history of the city. It was first built as a commandery during the Crusades and served as the starting point for the troops to reach the Holy Land of Jerusalem. The Fort of Saint-Jean's different structures, including a rise for cannons, remains of a church, and vaulted passageways, are remnants of the time it was created in. North of the fort lies the Museum of European and Mediterranean Civilizations, or MUSEM in short. It is the first French national museum to be located outside Paris. With its square-shaped metal latticework, the museum perfectly contrasts the rest of the historic district. Inside, there are artifacts dedicated to Mediterranean civilizations that surround the country. The museum's collections are preserved at the Belle de Mai in the Conservation and Resource Center. There's also an auditorium to host shows, concerts, and cinemas, as well as a bookshop and a panoramic restaurant. Next, we visit what's probably the most well-known part of the city, the Old Port. This is where the history of Marseille began. It served as Marseille's trade center for centuries. But after having lost its central economic dimension, the Old Port has become more of a social and cultural center for the city. You can stroll along the quays and admire the traditional fish market and its fishing boats, which preserve the image of a city that's married to the sea. The bars and restaurants on both sides of the river make it the perfect place for a pit stop. Our next destination is the Opéra Municipal. This opera house can seat a total of 1,800 people in its auditorium. It is designed by the architects Ebrard, Castel and Raymond, and has been described as an Art Deco temple. We move on to the 4th district and its main attraction, the Palais Longchamp. Palais Longchamp is one of the city's most recognizable landmarks. It's located in the Parc Longchamp. But it's the palace itself that is the showstopper. It is a magnificent structure with plenty of embellishments. The main eye-catcher here is the central fountain. It depicts bulls pulling a chariot with 3 women, with the central figure representing the river Durance, while women on either side depict prosperity in harvest. The palace was built as a monument to celebrate the opening of the Canal de Marseille, bringing fresh drinking water to the city. If you're in the city during the summer, the International Marseille Jazz Festival is a must visit. It includes performances by internationally renowned artists, an open-air cinema and exhibitions, and takes place in various historic and cultural centers of the city, including the Palais Longchamp and Museum. Now we are standing on Le Catalan Beach, which is just a stone's throw away from the city center. It's not the prettiest, nor one with the bluest water, but it's still a very popular hangout for both locals and tourists. It is also known for its beach volleyball courts and is a great place to watch the sunset. Palais du Pharaon was an imperial residence offered by the city to Napoleon III. The name Pharaon comes from the name of a nearby cove. The Pharaon was a mound separating the cove from the open sea and providing a lookout point. Today it serves as an international congress center for conventions and symposiums. And from here, you can see a nice view of the old town of Marseille, including the Fort Saint-Jean and the Museum complex, and the Cathédrale de la Major. One of the city's best-known symbols, the Notre-Dame de la Garde. Otherwise known as the Lady of the Guard, it is a symbol of the city, the crowning point of its skyline, and built on the highest natural point in Marseille. No wonder it offers arguably the best view of the city. The large gilded statue of the Virgin Mary sitting on top of the bell tower can be seen from anywhere in Marseille and from far out into the sea. It is said she watches over sailors and fishermen and all Marseille residents, and locals refer to her as La Bonne Mère, which translates to the Good Mother. People from all over the Bouches-du-Rhône region and beyond come here to light a candle and ask for a favor, or a miracle. The climb up may seem tough, but to those willing to make the journey, the visit is more than worth it. Do you agree? We're almost to the end of the tour, but there's a few more stops to go, so let's continue. Next is the Stade Velodrome, also known as the Orange Velodrome. It is a multi-purpose stadium located in the south of the city, mainly known for being home to the Olympic Marseille Football Club. Last but not least, we move to Calanque National Park, an area of incredible beauty, diverse landscapes, and unique cultural heritage. The park spans a 12-mile-long coastline between Marseille and the village of Cassis, where we are now. Whether you're planning a hike or want to enjoy the water and nature around you, this place is a must visit. It is the perfect location to try some water sports, such as kayaking, scuba diving, or even stand-up paddleboarding. And with this last view on the Mediterranean Sea, we have come to the end of this tour. We hope you had a wonderful time, and we would love to see you again on another trip. Bye!
So that was Marseille, France. I may butcher some of these names, I apologize. So I don't even know how to even pronounce this one, but it's Bratislava. So we're going to visit Bratislava next.
Hello, and thank you for watching. Welcome to Bratislava, Slovakia's capital and largest city. It is located in the southwestern corner of Slovakia and lies at the foot of the mountain range Little Carpathians and the river Danube. Bratislava houses the seat of the Slovak president and parliament and is home to many important businesses and financial institutions. This makes Bratislava the political, cultural, and economic center of Slovakia. Bordering Austria and Hungary, the city's history has been influenced by people of many different nationalities and religions. Let's discover more of this wonderful city. And what better place to start than at the Bratislava Castle? One of the main attractions of Bratislava, this majestic white castle watches over the city from a rocky hill, a spur of the Carpathian Mountains. From up there, you can admire the old town, and on a clear day, you can even see Austria and Hungary. The castle was built on an important crossing of the Danube, and it has been transformed several times throughout history, with the most recent alteration having been made in the 18th century by Empress Marie-Therese, who gave the castle interior a gracious Rococo overhaul. After a fire in 1811, the castle was left in ruins and would remain so until 1953, when the municipality decided to restore the building. The castle has been reconstructed more than once since, with the last reconstruction finished in 2011. From the castle, you have a wonderful view over the city, the Danube, and another obvious eye-catcher that immediately stands out. The UFO Bridge is a unique bridge. It is the 7th largest hanging bridge in the world, and incredibly shapes the panorama of Bratislava. It was built in the 70s and was voted to be Slovakia's Building of the Century. In 45 seconds, you can get to the very top of the UFO restaurant by an elevator. Next to the UFO bridge, the old medieval center typifies the city of Bratislava. Many of the ancient buildings are situated in the Old Town and form the historic center of the city. Bratislava's town hall, the complex of 3 buildings erected in the 14th and 15th centuries, can be seen here, with the central bell tower. It is the country's oldest town hall building and one of the oldest stone buildings still standing. The building now hosts the Bratislava City Museum, where visitors learn more from the city's history and get acquainted with torture instruments, dungeons, antique weapons, armor, and much more.
Who doesn't love torture equipment?
Scattered around the Old Town, you can find several human-sized iron sculptures. These pieces of art are interesting and very attractive for tourists. Look around. Can you find the Watcher? One possible explanation for its name is that he's looking under women's skirts. Girls, watch out over here. Another form of art that stands out in Bratislava is street art. The city is practically covered with it. The reason why it's so popular is that Bratislava adopted the Street Art Festival in 2011. During the festival, talented street artists showcased their skills on buildings and trains. Since then, it has been a part of Bratislava, and you can still see it everywhere. The oldest public park and one of the oldest Central European parks is the Janko Král Park. The most striking thing about the park is its round shapes, decorated with elements derived from the zodiac. The most prominent architectural feature is a unique pavilion that was originally a tower of a Franciscan church. Just across the Danube is the Hviezdoslávov Square. The square is primarily pedestrian, and 2 parallel fountains run along it. At the northern end of the square, you will find the Slovak National Theatre. The square acts as an entrance to the theater, where you can experience the best opera, drama, and ballet performances of the world. Another prominent building is the Primate's Palace. This neoclassical palace in the Old Town was built from 1778 to 1781. In 1805, the Hall of Mirrors of the palace saw the signing of the 4th Peace of Pressburg, ending the War of the Third Coalition. Today it serves as the seat of the mayor of Bratislava. The seat of the Slovak president is not far from here and situated in the Grasalkovich Palace. This palace is locally called the White House of Slovakia. The gates are inspired by those of Buckingham Palace in London, and it even has guards who also switch shifts in front of the palace. Right in front of the palace, there is a big fountain with the shape of our Earth, which symbolizes freedom. The capital of Slovakia has more than 50 chapels, cathedrals, temples, and churches, but one of them is the most unique. The official name of this church is Saint Elizabeth, but the church is better known as Blue Church. The church is fairy tale-like and is regularly described as a wedding cake. The architectural style of the church is an example of the Hungarian separatist style, combined with Art Nouveau and playful Romanesque, Oriental, and classical details. The altar features an illustration of Saint Elizabeth distributing alms to the poor. Another holy place that's worth a visit is the St. Martin's Cathedral. This is the largest and one of the oldest cathedrals in Bratislava. Construction of this Gothic cathedral started in 1311 on top of a cemetery. In 1563, it became the coronation church of the monarchs of Hungary, and 19 kings and queens were crowned over a period of 400 years. Today, the church is slowly declining. It is threatened by vibrations caused by heavy freight traffic on the ramp to the neighboring bridge. On the other side of the city, you will find the Slovak war memorial called Slavin. You see these kinds of war memorials in typical Stalinist style everywhere in this region. Slavin is a memorial and cemetery for thousands of Soviet soldiers who died in the liberation of Bratislava and surrounding cities in the last months of World War II. The cities that have been liberated are displayed on the large central building. The obelisk is almost 140 feet high, and the statue of the soldier another 40 feet. Pretty impressive, right? One of the most remarkable buildings in Bratislava and far beyond is the building of the Slovak radio television. It looks like a giant spaceship has lost a pyramid-shaped part that crashed into Earth. Opinions vary widely on this outspoken building. It is on the list of ugliest buildings in the world, but has also been added to the list of national cultural monuments of Slovakia. What do you think? A completely new district has been built on the north side of the Danube called Eurovea. It is the city's new commercial center, and at this place you can live, work, shop, relax, and enjoy the best gastronomy. And here at the Eurovea Boulevard, our tour of Bratislava comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed the tour around this beautiful city.
All right, so that was Bratislava. Our next city is going to be Faro. So let's go ahead and go into that one.
Hi, and welcome to Faro, the most southern city of Portugal and capital of the Algarve. This tranquil city has been around for a very long time. It is located near a lagoon, which made fishing easy and attracted settlers as early as 4 centuries before Christ. Between the 8th and 12th century, Faro was in Moorish hands. Today, you can still see the influence of the Moorish occupation in some of the buildings. Let's explore the town. Faro has an overall laid-back atmosphere, as the summers are hot and temperatures can easily rise to 44 degrees, so people take it slow. Luckily, there are many nice green city gardens with terraces where you can get a coffee in the shade. The marina in Faro plays an important role. From here, you can book boat tours to the island, go fishing or diving. But the marina itself is also a great place to have a bite in one of the many restaurants. There is also an obelisk nearby, which was erected here in 1910 in remembrance of Ferreira de Almeida, a former minister of naval affairs. He was popular in Faro because he founded a naval school and was an advocate for the fishing industry. Across the marina, you'll find the Jardim Manuel Bivar, which is one of the most striking places in the city. It is considered the center of the city, as it is surrounded by important buildings and was already used as a square in the 12th century. The beautiful building built in Neo-Manueline Gothic style in the 16th century you see here is in use by the Bank of Portugal. There often is a market where you can buy local products, and the square is still used for festivities. At the end of the square, you'll find the gate to the Old Town. The Arco da Villa. It was designed by the Italian architect Xavier Fabri and meant to give visitors from the sea an impressive entrance into the walled Old Town. This opening in the wall has been here since Moorish times. The stonework you see inside the gate is 1,000 years old. When you pass through it, you'll enter Old Town. This is a quiet area in the city, as there are not many cars on the cobblestone streets. There is a certain romantic beauty to this part of the city, which makes it great to wander around or relax at one of the cafes. In Old Town, you'll also find the Faro Cathedral, or Igreja de Santa Maria. It was built just after the Moors were defeated, and that explains why the church has a bunker-like appearance, as they were afraid they might be attacked again. The church did get attacked, not by the Moors, but by the English in the 16th century. After the attack, it needed to be partly rebuilt, which is why the church consists of two building styles. If you are in for some historical art, Faro Municipal Museum is the place to be. This 19th century museum contains many artifacts of prehistoric times and the Roman and medieval periods, like the bust of Roman Emperor Hadrian. Not far from the museum, you will find the very interesting Igreja do Carmo. This church, with its twin bell tower and lavish interior, is one of the finest churches in the Algarve. It was built in the 18th and 19th century. The gilded woodwork inside the church was done by master sculptor Manuel Martins and truly makes the interior of the church unique. This church, however, has one feature that attracts even more tourists: the Capella dos Ossos, or Chapel of Bones. This little chapel is made out of the skulls and bones of over 1,200 Carmelite monks taken from the cemetery in 1816. It was built as a reminder of the transcendence of life and eternity of the afterlife.
Well, that's just graphic. That
One of the
was
most
built out of
beautiful
real
houses
human
in Faro
skulls.
is Palacete Belmarco. This Art Nouveau estate was commissioned by Jesus Belmarco, a businessman who became rich by trading coffee and cereal. It was designed by the famous architect Manuel Joaquim Norte Jr. These days, it houses the administrative department of the municipality. And this brings us to the end of our tour through scenic Faro. We hope you had a good time. Bye.
All right, so our next stop is Saint Tropez.
Hi, and welcome to Saint-Tropez, a name which is synonymous for luxury yachts, celebrity visits, and designer boutiques. A place on the French Riviera where the classy, rich, and famous love to spend their holiday.
Ian,
It
you
may
just wait
surprise
for the
you
puppies
that this
who you will get
world-famous
there.
place only has around 4,000 inhabitants and once was a humble fishing village. Saint-Tropez first became famous when the painter Paul Signac started painting the town and lured other artists like Matisse and Marquis there. But Saint-Tropez really got world famous when the sensual film Dieu créa la femme with Brigitte Bardot was shot here. It focused on the luxury and class of the Riviera, and the influence of the film transformed the village into the legendary seaside resort it is today. Let's explore the town. The old part of the village is known as La Panche, and this historic center existed as early as the Roman conquest, though the city walls and fortifications were not erected until the 15th century. The Italian Baroque-style church and bell tower you see here was built in 1784 and marks the center of La Panche. It is the most picturesque and romantic part of Saint-Tropez. Here you'll find many cute boutiques, galleries, cafes, and restaurants. A perfect place to shop or have a relaxing drink in the shade. When Saint-Tropez was made famous by Brigitte Bardot, it became a popular place to shoot movies. Its popularity rose even further when the comical police films with actor Louis de Funès were shot here. It was partly shot in the police station of the Gendarmerie Nationale at the time. The police station is not in use anymore and has become a museum which is dedicated to the history of cinema in Saint-Tropez. Near La Panche you'll find Place de Lys. The original meaning of Lys is jousting ground, so this square is thought to have been used as a jousting ground in the 9th century. Knights would try to knock each other off their horses with lances as a form of sport and entertainment. In the 1800s, it was converted into a city square, and the first 12 trees were planted. The square and its trees were painted by Paul Signac and Matisse, which has made the Place de Lys a popular gathering place for French artists. Without its port, Saint-Tropez would not have become the luxury haven it is today. It is a perfect romantic stop for the rich and famous yachting across the Mediterranean Sea. It is not unlikely to see many million-dollar yachts residing in the small harbor. In the 18th century, it was widely used as a trading port, but now it has become a place of leisure and socializing. You'll find many chic cafes and restaurants here, and it is a popular place for the vacationers to have their morning coffee. At night, the atmosphere gets more active as many people come out for a bite and enjoy the cozy nightlife that Saint-Tropez has to offer.
Oh, look at this night picture.
Along the coast, just outside Saint-Tropez, you'll find many beaches in between the rocks, like this Plage Le Granier. The azure blue water and laid-back local atmosphere makes it a great beach to relax. If you are more of the active type, many of the beaches offer windsurfing, canoes, jet bikes, and scuba diving gear for rent. When you like wine and history, the Chapelle Sainte-Anne is well worth a visit. In the middle of the grape fields, you'll find this 16th century chapel that was built to thank God for sparing Saint-Tropez from the plague that was spreading across the whole region. Before going on new journeys, sailors would climb up to the church and ask for protection during their travels. A fun fact, it is also used for marriages. In 1971, Rolling Stone's Mick Jagger married his wife Bianca here. Unfortunately, their marriage wasn't meant to last. A bit outside Saint-Tropez, you'll find a very rare seaside cemetery with an eternal view of the ocean for those who found their last resting place here. It has been here since the 18th century, and quite a few famous people are buried here, such as the Hindu princess Banu Pandey, painter Paul Signac, and Blandine Liszt, daughter of Franz Liszt. Another must-visit place is the old fortress or citadel of Saint-Tropez. It was initially built as a defense post during the religious wars in the 16th century. It was used as a strategic point of defense until the 19th century. The original cannons are still in place facing the sea, as if they are still looking for enemy ships to arrive. Inside the fortress, you'll find a museum, which is dedicated to the maritime history of Saint-Tropez. This was it for this tour. We leave you with this tranquil view over the Saint-Tropez Bay. Bye!
So, how's everybody enjoying our tour so far? I hope it's going pretty smoothly. I actually installed a new Wi-Fi 6 router just for the Oculus and the computer that streams. So I'm hoping it's not choppy. Everything is smooth. I'm hoping everybody's enjoying the stream. If you are, please make sure to like and subscribe and share out the stream. If we can get to 750 subscribers, we're at 656 now. If we could get to 750, when we get to 750 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway of a $25 Amazon gift card. So make sure to share out the stream. So we're gonna go ahead back to the VR for something that Ian and I know Costa Mom's gonna like, and I think Sam will, as well as everybody else. We are going to take a quick puppy break. Okay, so that was our quick puppy break. So we're gonna go welcome in Emily, by the way. Let's see, we're at 18 likes. Let's see if we can get this. We still got 5 more places to visit. Let's see if we can get this stream to 25 likes, please. So let's go ahead and continue our tour. We got 5 more stops on our tour for tonight. So our next stop is Buenos Aires.
Hello, and welcome to Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina. With its wide avenues and cosmopolitan flair, this colonial port city is almost European in character. The city where the emotional tango dance originated in the lower class neighborhoods. What makes Buenos Aires special is that it is a city of distinctive neighborhoods, which all have their own character and feel. Let's dive in. One of the most famous and historical streets in Buenos Aires is the Avenida Corrientes. It runs through the heart of the city and has been a symbol of nightlife throughout the 20th century, with its many tango clubs, restaurants, theaters, and cinemas. A street that never sleeps and is the pulse of popular culture. In the 1930s, it was the place where tango had its golden moment in time. In the 60s, you could enrich yourself with European movies. And in the 80s, when democracy returned, the bookstores and cafes became the places where new ideas were exchanged. Today, it is still the best place to see a play or visit a concert by your favorite artist. Like shopping? On the Avenida, you can also find Abasto, the biggest shopping mall of Buenos Aires. It used to be the wholesale fruit and vegetable market in the 19th century, but since 1999, it is a mall with over 250 shops inside. This neighborhood, or barrios, is called Recoleta. With its stately homes and plush hotels, it is the most posh of them all. Buenos Aires is often compared to Paris or Madrid, and Recoleta is one of the main reasons for this. It became popular when an outbreak of yellow fever in 1870 forced the city's southern residents to live somewhere else. The wealthier families chose Recoleta because the height of the terrain reduced the presence of insects which transmitted the disease, and they could afford to build on such a terrain. The name Recoleta comes from the Franciscan Recollect monks who had built their monastery here before the outbreaks. Their cemetery near the church has become world famous. Over the years, it grew to the size of a mini village of tombs, which serve as the last resting place of many of Argentina's most influential families and people, like the beloved First Lady Eva Perón, writer José Hernandez, and 26 Argentine presidents. Over 90% of the tombs are listed as National Historical Monuments. It has made this village of the dead a place of pilgrimage. The barrio of Montserrat, which lies next to Recoleta, has been around since 1580, when the city itself was founded. With its central location, it became the political heart of the city and houses some important historical buildings and places, like this square called Plaza de Mayo. This plaza is the place where the people of the city have celebrated its successes, but also protested its politicians. The Pyramid of May marks the center of the square and commemorates the first anniversary of the May 1810 revolutions, in which Buenos Aires declared itself independent from Spain. It is also why this square is named Mayo, which means May. The big pink building is called Casa Rosada and is the office of the President of Argentina. From the arcaded balconies, political leaders such as Juan and Eva Perón have addressed the nation. The building was constructed on the site of a fort established by the Spanish in 1580, which was later developed into a customs house. Since 1862, it has been the seat of the government. President Sarmiento is believed to have ordered it to be painted in pink to diffuse the political tensions between the opposing Red and White Party, making it a building of both parties. Another landmark building is Palacio Barolo, which at the time of construction in 1923 was the tallest building in South America. It was designed by the Italian architect Mario Paletti from the impresario Luis Barolo, an Italian immigrant who made a fortune in knitted fabrics. The Palacio Barolo was designed with many architectural references to poet Dante's Divine Comedy. Accordingly, the 22 floors of the building are divided into heaven, hell, and purgatory. But Paletti also incorporated influences in its design from Indian temples. There is a lighthouse at the top of the building, of which light can be seen all the way in Montevideo, Uruguay. Around the corner, you'll find the impressive 7-story opera house Teatro Colón. It is considered to be one of the 10 best opera houses in the world. The theater was built in 1908 and opened with a performance of Verdi's Aida and is still the city's main performing arts venue. Feel like escaping the busy streets for a while? The Botanical Garden in Buenos Aires is a great place to take a walk and discover plants and trees from all over the world. There are over 5,000 different species to be found here. The park was founded by the French landscape architect Charlie Taze, and the red brick building you can still see in the park belonged to him and his family. There are also some beautiful sculptures to be found in the park. On the northern side of the city, you'll find Tigre. This river barrio, named after the nearly extinct jaguar, lies at the T-junction of the river Tigre and the river Luján. It is the gateway to an area of 300-kilometer wetlands called the Tigre Delta. Originally, it was a port for exporting fruit and timber, but it became a weekend hotspot for high society in the early 20s. They built colonial holiday mansions and riverside promenades, but when luxury resorts started to be built on islands in the Atlantic Ocean, they lost interest and the place fell into disrepair. Later, artists and musicians rediscovered the area, which created the eccentric vibe that can still be felt here. These days, it is once again a popular tourist destination for the summer weekends. Palermo Soho in the Palermo Barrio is a vibrant and trendy neighborhood popular with backpackers and hipsters. It has old Spanish-style houses, but mostly is a place that is very much in the now. The area oozes innovation, with many startup businesses, and is international, young, and modern. A place to sip a coffee and to shop for the latest fashion in one of the fine boutiques. The nearby Plaza Serrano is the epicenter of fashion in Soho. In the daytime, it is a crafts and design fair, and you can even shop for clothing in the bars and restaurants around the square. During nighttime, the square turns into a meeting place for young people that want to celebrate, drink, sing, and dance. Another great place for leisure is the ecological reserve at the edge of the city. With a view over the bay and the skyline of the city behind you, it is a nice place to go for a relaxing walk. It is also a popular fishing spot, where many fishermen try their luck on the weekend. The last barrio we take you to is also the most colorful and is called La Boca. It has a strong Italian feel because many of its early settlers were from the city of Genoa. La Boca is located on what used to be the biggest port. Many immigrants who worked on the boats at the dock built their houses here from the leftovers from shipbuilding. You can still see houses that are made of sheet metal and wood. When local artist Benito Quinquela Martin decided to use his neighborhood as a canvas, painting one abandoned street in bright colors, other inhabitants followed suit and also started to paint their houses with leftover paint from the docks. This gives Boca its unique appearance. This is it for this tour. I hope you enjoyed vibrant Buenos Aires.
Okay, so our next stop is Budapest.
Hi, and welcome to Budapest, the capital of Hungary. This beautiful city, which lies on both sides of the Danube River, has seen many sides of history. From a golden age in the late 19th century, which resulted in the amazing neoclassical and eclectic architecture you see throughout the city, to the hard times it endured during World War II and the Soviet era. These days, it is a popular destination for tourists who love the Eastern vibe, great food, and hot natural springs baths Budapest has to offer. The Danube River splits the city in two areas, one called Buda and the other called Pest. Yes, together, that makes Budapest. Castle Hill is one of the most famous places in Buda. This hill towering over the Danube houses the Buda Castle, which was the palace where Hungarian kings lived since the 13th century. The castle has 200 rooms and has been rebuilt and remodeled after being damaged in wars throughout history a few times. It was the last stronghold of the Nazis in Budapest before the Soviet Union took control in 1944. Today it houses the Hungarian National Gallery. In front of the castle, you'll find the statue of Prince Eugene of Savoy, a field marshal of the Austrian Habsburg dynasty, a hero in the war against the Ottoman Turks, who occupied Budapest for over 150 years. You can still see the Ottoman influence around the city in many buildings. This 13th century church on Castle Hill, called Matthias Church, was used as a mosque during the Turkish occupation and was later renovated in a Baroque style. Empress Elizabeth of the Habsburg Empire, or Sissi, was crowned as Queen of Hungary in this church. The church is still in use. On Sunday evenings, free organ concerts are held here, which are well worth a visit. Another special place on Castle Hill is the Fisherman Bastion. It is said to be the part of the castle wall that was protected by the Guild of Fishermen in the Middle Ages. They lived near the wall in so-called Watertown. The 7 neo-Romanesque towers on the bastion represent the 7 clans that founded Hungary. From Castle Hill, we go to the Danube River, which runs through the heart of the city. The locals love to stroll along the Danube Promenade, as it gives you a beautiful view of both parts of the city. Along the promenade, you'll find a series of 60 pairs of steel-sculpted shoes. They commemorate the Jews who were shot on the riverbank by the Nazis, so that their bodies would fall in the water and get carried out of the city by the river. Before being shot, they were ordered to take off their shoes, as shoes were considered valuable and could be resold. A harsh reminder of the genocide that took place here. After World War II, it was not the end of the bad times for Budapest. The Soviet Union occupied Hungary and set up a communist government. Any resistance to communism was met with violence, and many died or were sent to camps in the over 40 years Hungary was under Soviet rule. On the outskirts of Budapest, you'll find the Memento Park, an open-air museum which is there to remind the people of the dictatorship of the USSR, but also serves as a reminder of the power of freedom and the will to break free. You can find statues of Marx, Lenin, and many more communist monuments that were removed after the fall of communism. Another place that reminds us of this long period of terror under Nazi and Soviet rule is the House of Terror. It is a museum which entails about both time periods. The building was actually used as an office by the Nazi Arrow Party in the Second World War and was used by the secret police of the AVH under Soviet rule. Both of them terrorized the Hungarian people in terrible ways. This museum is there to make no one forget. A building you can't miss when strolling down the Danube River is the massive and aesthetically pleasing Parliament building on the Pest side of the city. It is the third biggest parliament building in the world and is the largest building in the whole of Hungary. It was built in Gothic Revival style, has a stunning 691 rooms, and also houses the crown jewels of Hungary. The Parliament of Hungary still resides here. If you feel like escaping the city vibe for a while, Margaret Island is a great place to go. It is a tiny park-like island in the middle of the Danube River, where local people go to relax. And on top of that, it has a musical fountain that even lights up at night. Here we are at the square of the St. Stephen's Basilica. It was built around 1900 and is considered the most holy church in Hungary and contains an important relic: the mummified right hand of King Stephen, the first king of Hungary. It is displayed under glass in the chapel. Not far from here, in the Jewish quarter, you'll find Doheny Street Synagogue. This beautiful synagogue is the biggest one in Europe and the second largest in the world. It can accommodate about 3,000 people and was built in 1859 in Moorish style. The Városliget Park is another popular and beautiful park in Budapest among locals and tourists. With its many trees, it is the perfect place to linger on a hot summer day. But it also has a nice lake where you can go for a boat ride. There is also a museum, a zoo, and a hot spring bath located in the 19th century buildings inside the park. This striking building houses the famous Stecenia thermal bath. Not a bad place to relax after a long day. The most striking building is the Wajdabunyat Castle, which was built in 1896 for the millennial celebrations and is supposed to embody 1,000 years of Hungarian existence and architecture. Near the park, you'll also find the Hero Square, which houses the Museum of Fine Arts. The museum has one of the largest collections of paintings by the so-called Old Masters. The impressive square itself was designed by the architect Albert Schickedanz and includes the Millennium Monument. The column is 36 meters high and has the Archangel Gabriel on top. On the base of the columns, you can see a group of bronze horsemen representing the 7 leaders of the clans that founded Hungary. And here at the Hero Square, our tour of Budapest comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed the tour around this beautiful city.
Oh, that was kind of graphic, actually. Wasn't expecting that to have so many hardships. But let's go ahead and continue with our tour. Let me recenter here. So our next stop is Istanbul.
Hello, and thank you for watching. We are now in Istanbul, the capital and largest city of Turkey with roughly 16 million inhabitants. Istanbul has a very rich history and has been the capital of the Ottoman Empire as well as the Byzantine Empire, back when it was called Constantinople. An interesting fact about modern Istanbul is that the western side lies in Europe, while the eastern side lies in Asia, divided by the Bosphorus Strait. We're starting this tour on what is considered the heart of modern Istanbul, Taksim Square, situated in Beyoğlu, in the European part of the city. a district famed for its restaurants, shops, and hotels, making it a favorite area for tourism and leisure. The square is flanked by the Marmara Hotel, the tall building on your right, the Ataturk Cultural Center in front of you, and the Taksim Mosque, which you can see on your left now. The square is also home to the Republic Monument, opened in 1928. It was built to commemorate the 5th anniversary of the foundation of the Republic of Turkey under its first leader, Kemal Ataturk. The word Taksim means division or distribution in Arabic. Taksim Square was originally the point where the main water lines from the north of Istanbul were collected and branched off to supply the rest of the city. From Taksim Square runs one of the main arteries of the city, Istiklal Caddesi, which translates to Independence Street. Here, you can immerse yourself in modern Istanbul. It's the busiest street in the city, and the long stretch of shops contain every product imaginable. There's also plenty of cafes and
I
restaurants.
see a
with
Burger
live
King,
music,
McDonald's, and
it is home to
KFC.
several museums, cinemas, and other tourist attractions. If you're looking for a place to go out, for dinner or a dance, Nevizade Street is the place to be. It runs parallel to Istiklal Street, in the heart of Beyoğlu, and is dotted with restaurants, pubs, and clubs. You'll find there's plenty to do here any night of the week, and a trip to Istanbul simply is not complete without having enjoyed a beer on one of the many terraces here. Turkey is a religious country, and it shows in the numerous houses of worship that Istanbul is rich with. Islam is by far the dominant religion, and there are over 3,000 mosques in the city. Many of them are world famous and well worth a visit, like this great Kamlika Mosque, which is Istanbul's largest mosque today. It was completed and opened in 2019 in the Üsküdar district of Istanbul, on the Asian side of the city. It is visible from much of the center of Istanbul. The mosque's complex includes an art gallery, library, and conference hall, and it can accommodate up to 100,000 people in case of an emergency. The mosque's design was inspired by classical Ottoman architecture. It has 6 minarets, which represent the 6 articles of Islamic faith. Its position on Kamlika Hill also makes the mosque one of the best spots for enjoying a panoramic view of the city. Take a look behind you, if you will. There's a few notable churches in Istanbul as well. This Church of St. Anthony of Padua, located on Istiklal Street, is the largest Roman Catholic church in the city. Pope John XXIII, honored through a statue in front of the church, preached here for 10 years before he was chosen as the Pope in 1958. In Turkey, he was known as the Turkish Pope because of his fluency in Turkish and his expressed love for Turkey and for Istanbul in particular. St. Anthony Church was built in Venetian neo-Gothic architecture, and it is quite impressive from the inside as well. The church was built in 1906 to accommodate the roughly 40,000 Roman Catholics who were living in Istanbul at the turn of the century. Ortaköy is one of the most popular, lively, and attractive neighborhoods of the Beşiktaş district on the northern shore of the Bosphorus Strait. It is another of Istanbul's nightlife and entertainment centers with a variety of great cafes, restaurants, shops, and boutiques. Strolling around Ortaköy Square, the obvious heart of Ortaköy, is a treat in itself. Just watching the crowd and enjoying a drink and good food in one of the various cafes and restaurants near the shore is one of the best things to do in Ortaköy. The eastern end of Ortaköy Square is bordered by the Ortaköy Büyük Meçhidiye Mosque. With its elegant architecture, it is arguably one of the most beautiful mosques in Istanbul. It was built by Sultan Abdülmecit in the 19th century and has since become one of the main symbols of Istanbul. Opposite the mosque, on your right, you can see the Esma Sultan House, which was built for the daughter of Sultan Abdulaziz, as a wedding gift for her marriage to Sirkez Mehmet Pasha. Today, the building is used as a wedding, meeting, and event venue. Running behind the Esma Sultan House, you can see the Bosphorus Bridge, which crosses the strait to the eastern side of Istanbul. Ortaköy is a great area to do some shopping, especially for souvenirs. Visitors can enjoy and buy various kinds of handicrafts, hats, bags, handcrafted jewelry, books, and much more. Especially on weekends, when the street market sets up in and around Ortaköy Square, the area is a delight to browse around. The Bosphorus Strait branches into the western part of Istanbul as a waterway known as the Golden Horn. This also divides the northern part of the city from the peninsula, which constitutes Old Istanbul, the area that formed the ancient Byzantium and Constantinople. You can see this peninsula, the Fatih district, across the water. The Galata Bridge on your right is one of the main connections between the city districts. We'll cross that bridge later, but let's first briefly explore the neighborhood of Galata, on the northern bank of the Golden Horn. Today, the area is also known as Karaköy Court, part of the Beyoğlu district. It is one of the oldest and most historic districts of the city, and is an important commercial center as well as transport hub. A popular attraction in Karaköy is the Galata Tower. It was built as a watchtower at the highest point of the walls of Galata, the former name of this quarter. Constructed in 1348 in Romanesque style as the Tower of Christ during an expansion of the Genoese colony in Constantinople. At the time of completion, the Galata Tower, at 219.5 feet, was the tallest building in Constantinople. Today, the tower is an exhibition space and museum, and one of the main symbols of Beyoğlu and Istanbul. All right, it's time to move on to the oldest part of the city, the Fatih district. The Galata Bridge is the heart of Istanbul, spanning the Golden Horn from Karaköy on your left to Old Istanbul, also known as Fatih, on your right. Looking out across the water, you can see the Asian or Anatolian side of the city. Crossing the Galata Bridge on foot is a must-have experience when in Istanbul. Next to an iconic place to visit, it is also a very good place to walk across the Bosphorus and enjoy the views from all sides. Beneath where we're standing now, on the first level of the bridge, is a row of seafood restaurants with al fresco seating, a great place to relax and enjoy good food and a cold drink. Leaving the bridge on the southern end and entering the İminönü quarter of the Fatih district, the Egyptian Bazaar, otherwise known as the Spice Bazaar, is the first main attraction you'll encounter. It is the place to be for fresh spices, nuts, honeycomb, Turkish delight, and other delicacies. And the scent coming from the hundreds of spices
Welcome in,
on
Dallas.
sale can be quite overwhelming, in a good way. Just a few minutes' walk from the Spice Bazaar lies the awe-inspiring Süleymaniye Mosque. Its sheer size makes it hard to miss. The mosque took 8 years to build and was completed in 1557 as a tribute to Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent, the longest reigning sultan of the Ottoman Empire. The mosque was designed by the legendary architect Mimar Sinan. It is his largest project, and it is known as one of his absolute masterpieces. The interior is elegantly decorated and perfectly designed in terms of natural lighting. The sense of space is emphasized in the supporting semi-domes and arches. A clever airflow system was incorporated into the original design, ensuring a cool temperature inside. A mile or two west of the Süleymaniye Mosque, on the southwestern bank of the Golden Horn, lies the friendly neighborhood Balat. Originally an area that housed many Jews and Greeks, its narrow cobbled streets and colorful houses make for a joyful appearance. Over the last years, it's becoming a hotspot where there are many hip cafes and innovative galleries that sit alongside traditional corner shops. Heading back east into the heart of the Fatih district, we enter the Grand Bazaar. Also known as Kapalı Çarşı, it is the oldest covered market in the world. Its size is more than impressive. It has approximately 4,000 shops and attracts 200 to 400,000 people daily. Construction of this gigantic covered market started in 1455, and it has been expanding over time. In the Grand Bazaar, you can enjoy great shopping, as the shops offer a wide variety of products. From kilim rugs to Turkish teas to colorful crafts in all shapes and sizes. This makes the Grand Bazaar a favorite with both locals and tourists. Let's continue with some of the last highlights of this tour. Istanbul is home to some of the most beautiful and famous mosques in the world. And from Sultanahmet Park, where we are now, we can see two of them. The Sultanahmet Mosque, also known as the Blue Mosque behind the fountain, and the Hagia Sophia on the other side of this park, looking left almost 180 degrees. Sultanahmet Park is an excellent place for picnic and relaxation, and is often used as a venue for public events. Next to Sultanahmet Park lies the similarly named Sultanahmet Square, formerly known as the Hippodrome of Constantinople. The square served as a horse and chariot racing track in ancient times. There are several eye-catchers here, including this obelisk of Theodosius, a 3,500-year-old Egyptian obelisk of Pharaoh Thutmose III, re-erected at this site by the Roman Emperor Theodosius I in the 4th century AD. Here's another view on the Hagia Sophia, which translates as Holy Wisdom. Originally a Greek Orthodox church, the site has changed between being a mosque and a museum since the fall of the Byzantine Empire, and it is one of the greatest surviving examples of Byzantine architecture. Today, the site retains its role as a mosque and major cultural and historical site. And with that, we have come to the end of this tour. I hope you had a great time and hope to see you again on one of our other trips. Please.
Okay, so our next stop is Berlin. I hope everybody's having a good time so far. Let me take this off for a second. No, we lost a like. We're down to 17 likes. Oh well, we still got two more things to view. So let's continue our tour. All right, so again, our next stop is going to be Berlin.
Hi, and welcome to a city which has a very rich and tumultuous history within Europe and the world. We are in Berlin, the capital city of Germany. Today it is known as one of the most free, arty, techy, and prosperous cities of the world. During this tour, we'll find out why. Starting here on the Gendarmenmarkt, one of Berlin's largest squares, dominated by three historic landmark buildings: the Konzerthaus, the Französische Dom, home to the Huguenot Museum, and the Deutsche Dom. The central building here is the Konzerthaus, Berlin's main concert hall for world-class classical concerts. During Christmas, the square transforms into a winter wonderland. And in the summertime, musicians play the most beautiful classical melodies, as well as rock, pop, and jazz at the classic open air. Friedrich Schiller, regarded as one of the most significant dramatists and lyricists of the German language, is honored through this statue in front of the Konzerthaus. Berlin has been a capital city for quite a long while. As early as the 14th century, it was already the capital of the Margraviate of Brandenburg, and in 1701 it became the capital of the Kingdom of Prussia. This building, named Charlottenburg Palace, is the oldest Prussian estate in Berlin and dates back to the 17th century. It was used by German royalty as primary residence for centuries. If you get the chance to go in, you can marvel at the splendor the royals lived in, as the palace is filled with beautifully decorated rooms, amazing paintings, and even a 137-long golden hallway. The palace sits at the beginning of a popular park, Berlin's Großer Tiergarten. It was once a royal hunting reserve, where boar and deer were hunted by the royal family. But these days, many Berliners come here to relax, work out, and have a generally good time. At the northwestern end of the park, you can find the 230-foot-high Victory Column, supporting a statue of Victoria, the Roman goddess of victory. It was built to celebrate the Prussian war victories. The Berliners gave the statue the nickname Golden Elsa, which translates to something like Golden Lizzie. Close to the Victory Monument lies Bellevue Palace, built in Prussian times and inhabited first by Prussian royalty and later by the German Emperor Wilhelm II. It was named Bellevue for its magnificent view of the Royal Charlottenburg Palace, visible from its upper windows. In 1959, it became the house of German presidents, and it still is today. Located about a mile south of the Tiergarten lies the Lutheran Church. Constructed in 1895, the red brick building represents a transition from Romanesque to Gothic styles, and features elements of Romanesque and Gothic revival. On Sundays, American Church in Berlin holds English-spoken services here. You may recognize this gate, as it has been in the news many times over the course of its history. The Brandenburger Tor. Once the symbol of a divided nation, it was built in the 18th century and originally, and ironically, known as Peace Gate. During the Cold War, it was integrated into the Berlin Wall, and as a heavily guarded gate, it became a famous icon of the separation between West and East Berlin. Many demonstrations against the wall were organized here by West Berliners. After American President Reagan and the Russian President Gorbachev announced the tearing down of the wall at this site, the Brandenburger Tor became a symbol of hope, change, and freedom. The Berlin Wall closed off West Berlin from the rest of Germany, including the east side of Berlin, during the Cold War from 1961 to 1989. Many families were forcibly split, and East Berliners employed in the West were cut off from their jobs. West Berlin became an isolated island in an otherwise hostile land. Some were brave, or desperate enough, to try to flee from east to west. Escape attempts claimed the lives of many, often because of the accidental or illegal actions of the guards. A total of 140 deaths have been confirmed, although it's quite possible the actual number is a lot higher. The Berlin Wall Memorial was erected in 1998 and commemorates the deaths that took place here. It includes an original 200-feet section of the wall. On the east side of Berlin, on the Mühlenstrasse, you can find the East Side Gallery, a permanent open-air gallery on the longest surviving section of the wall. In the spring of 1990, after the opening of the Berlin Wall, this section was painted by 118 artists from 21 countries. Due to urban development measures, it is no longer completely preserved. And instead of the originals from then, only the replicas from 2009 exist today. Checkpoint Charlie was the most used Berlin Wall crossing point between West and East Berlin. Out of 9, it was the only checkpoint where the diplomatic corps and other foreigners could enter East Berlin by road. After the end of the Cold War and the reunification of Germany, the original Checkpoint Charlie structure was moved to what is now the Allied Museum. A small replica was placed at the original site, and it remains very popular with tourists who love to have their photographs taken in front of it. Close to the Brandenburger Tor, you can find the iconic Reichstag, which houses the German lower parliament, the Bundestag. The structure was heavily damaged by a fire in 1933. This event marked the end of the Weimar Republic and the beginning of the Nazi rule under its leader, Adolf Hitler. During the war, it was used as a hospital and a radio tube manufacturing facility. After the war, it hosted an exposition of the dark German war history. And in 1990, it became the place where the official reunification of Germany took place. Millions of Jewish people from all over German-occupied Europe were murdered under the Nazi regime. It's an incomprehensible fact, and something the next generation of Germans has had to learn to live with. In 2003, this Holocaust monument was built to commemorate the victims of the Holocaust. According to the architect Eisenman, the concrete blocks are designed to produce an uneasy, confusing atmosphere, and the whole sculpture aims to represent a supposedly ordered system that has lost touch with human reason. The Jewish Museum opened in 2001. You now see one of the 3 buildings of the museum designed by architect Daniel Liebeskind. German Jewish history is documented in the collections. And from its opening in 2001 to December 2017, the museum had over 11 million visitors, making it one of the most visited museums in Germany. Potsdamer Platz was once a focus of Berlin's economic and administrative life. But during World War II, the majority of the buildings were destroyed and left desolate during the Cold War era. After unification, the long-deserted Potsdamer Platz came alive with the construction of an array of public and private buildings. And over the last decades, it has been the site of major redevelopment projects. After the fall of the wall, some areas of the city were redeveloped into green and recreational spaces. Mauerpark, which translates as Wall Park, is one of the best-known parks in Berlin and one of the most popular places for young residents of Berlin, especially from the fashionable district of Prenzlauer Berg. Since 2004, there's been a popular flea market which opens every Sunday, and it's visited by many locals and tourists alike. The magnificent Berlin Cathedral is situated in the heart of the city, bordering Lustgarten Park. With its imposing neo-Renaissance architecture, 4 towers, almost 100-meter-high dome, and golden cross, it is a true wonder to behold. Lustgarten Park gives access to 2 other main attractions: the Altes Museum, an important archaeology museum, and the Humboldt Forum, a museum dedicated to human history, art, and culture. The Altes Museum and Humboldt Forum are part of the museum complex known as Museum Island, which houses several museums as well as one of the leading universities of music in Europe, the Hans Eisler Hochschule für Musik. One of the best areas for leisure that sits right next to the Museum Island is the Nikolai Quarter. It's the oldest residential area in the city, although it was greatly restored after being heavily bombed during World War II. An obvious eye-catcher here is the Nikolai Church, the oldest church in Berlin, built between 1220 and 1230 in its original form. Since its reopening in the early 80s, Nikolai Quarter has become a cultural hub, shopping area, and favorite tourist attraction with plenty of bars and cafes. If you're up for an unforgettable night of clubbing, you may want to try the Berghain, one of the most famous clubs in the world. Focusing mainly on techno and house, it is known as the world capital of techno. You may find it hard to get in though, since the club's door policy is notorious for being both strict and opaque. Let's continue on to the last stop of this tour. Alexanderplatz, named after the Russian Tsar Alexander I, and often referred to simply as Alex. It was the center of East Berlin life and is now home to the World Time Clock, a popular meeting place. With over 360,000 visitors daily, Alexanderplatz is one of Berlin's major commercial areas, houses various shopping malls, department stores, and fast food restaurants. One of the highlights here is the television tower, with panoramic views of the city. Unfortunately, we are unable to ascend at this time, but it's also quite marvelous to gaze upon from down here, don't you agree? Alexanderplatz is also where our tour comes to an end. We hope you had a wonderful time, and we would like to see you again on one of our other trips. Bye!
Okay, and for our final, whoops. Trying to do this kind of blindfolded. There we go. And for our final video, we're gonna watch Mickey and Minnie's various celebrations. I hope you all enjoy it.
We are taking a winter walk down memory lane in your environment. No matter where the memories take us, one thing's for certain: we need a little Christmas now.
So many wonderful Christmases together. It sure would be swell if we could share every one of them with all our pals.
Oh, Minnie, that's the magic of memories. When we share our memories with others, we make new ones to go inside of our
Right. Come on, folks. Let's make some bitter memories together.
That's a great idea, Mickey. And I've got just the way to get this party started. Here we go, Pluto. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle, jingle, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Here we go. Dancing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, the fields we go. We're laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, and these spirits cry. What fun it is to ride and sing and play a song today. Oh, jingle bells, jingle, jingle.
Welcome in, Gator Ghost.
What fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle, jingle, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Here we go. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart.
Goodness, who could that be? No way!
What is it?
I can't believe
I wonder who it could be.
Please help me welcome my dear friend, the diva on Dairy, Miss Maribel Cow.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. And I wish come true. Sing, dear.
All I want for Christmas is you! It's wonderful! I need it just
so many songs to choose from.
Here's one I think everybody will know. Let's all get down the party. La la la la la la la.
It is the season to be jolly. La la la la la la la. Come down, get to the best. La la la la la.
Continue to pedal. La la la la la la la.
Look at us go.
Steve the Snowman was happy at the school. Said when the lights and the his eyes made out of gold. Steve the Snowman is a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how big and fun was they.
Must have been some magic in the roots of Patsy Town.
When they placed it on his head, he danced right. Steve the Snowman was high as he could be. And the children say, I want the same as you and me.
Is that outside the game?
It's a great dance.
Here we go, folks. Who's got a beard that's long and white?
Since got a beard that's long and white.
Who comes round on special night?
Santa comes around on a special night.
Special night, it is white.
Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Must be Santa.
That's me, folks. Who's got a big red cherry nose?
Santa's got a big red cherry nose.
Who lives this way? Ho, ho, ho.
Santa has to say ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. Cherry nose. Special night. Beard that's white. Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Must be Santa. Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings to you. With all of your gear. Good tidings of Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This really is our favorite time of year.
Happy holiday. On the merry-go-round story, may your every wish come true. Happy holiday. May the candle be burning.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. I tried to put together a good show for everybody. Well, we hit 21 likes. That's a good start. So thank you all for coming. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to comment in this video afterwards, and we could put another show together. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming in, and have a great holiday with your families, and we'll see you soon.